right, good afternoon, folks. It's 4 o'clock. I'll call the Plan Commission meeting to order. I'll call the roll. John? Here. Kevin? Marilyn? Here. Jerry? Here. Braden? Here. All right, if folks could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, is there a motion to approve the minutes for last meeting?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, state aye.
Aye.
Any objections? Chair votes aye, minutes are approved. All right, we have two public hearings today. First one, we have public hearing regarding application for conditional use with exceptions for Mr. Adhikari to construct a new multi-tenant convenience store and service station located at parcel number 592814311172. Anyone in the public wishing to be heard on this item? Anyone wishing to be heard? Last call. Anyone wishing to be heard? Seeing none, is there a motion to close the hearing for this item? Moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing the first hearing, state aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Chair votes aye. Hearing is closed. Next hearing, public hearing regarding general development agreement plan by Jake Buswell to construct the new Jacob Hall apartments located at parcels 5928-1718350 and 5928-1712930. UR 12 with PUD overlay. Anyone from the public wishing to speak on this item? Would you like to come up? All right. And then for the public hearing, if you're speaking on this item, please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. And this is just a public hearing, so we just take your input. We don't do Q&A.
Okay, so my questions won't be answered, is what you're saying?
They might. Commission members might feel compelled to ask the questions when we deliberate.
Okay. All right, I'm Stephanie Swigert. I am the owner of Balloony Gifts at 2530 North 15th Street, Sheboygan. I had questions on who the developer was, and you said it really fast. Ryan, what was the developer's name?
Usually we don't respond to questions, but it was Jake Buswell, and he's in the house today.
Okay. Well, hi. And questions on the stories, how many stories, parking, name of the complex. I wanted to address that, and some of the road maintenance that would be coming along with it, and then construction beginning and length of build, and then water and sewer also. Those are some things that I just want to know about.
And we'll go over those.
Thank
so
you.
Stay tuned.
So hopefully that was not too long of a list for you guys.
No, you're good. Anyone else wishing to be heard on this item? Anyone else? This is the Jacob Hall property site. Last call. All right, seeing none, is there a motion to close the hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor of closing the hearing, state aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
objections? Chair votes aye. Hearing is closed. All right, so we have item 7, application for conditional use with exceptions by Mr. Adhikari to construct a new multi-tenant convenience store and service station located at parcel number 592814311172. Elise, you want to give a staff report?
This project consists of a gas station canopy and a mixed-use building to include a convenience store, liquor store, shipping store, and restaurant. The site is currently vacant, and the existing metal building will be demoed as part of this project. The property was selected for its location along South Business Drive corridor and complementing businesses to the north and south. This location eliminates a vacated site on a primary city street.
All right. Does the applicants have any additional comments you'd like to add? All right, thanks. Questions from commission members? John?
I just have one question regarding the liquor store. Remember when we did Tidy Car and they had to have a separate entrance for that? Is this the same type of restriction that needs to be in place for that?
They do have separate entrances for that liquor
Okay.
store.
Thank you.
No? Other questions? Motions?
Make a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Second. Moved and seconded. Seeing no more discussion, all those in favor state aye.
Aye.
Any objection? Chair votes aye. That item is approved. Next, item 8, general ordinance number 372425 by Alderperson Bellinger, amending the city of Sheboygan official zoning map of this Sheboygan zoning ordinance to change the use district classification of property located at North 15th Street and Martin Avenue, parcel numbers 592817183350 and 5928171293 from class urban residential to urban residential with a PUD overlay classification. Elise, staff report?
The city purchased the property with the American Rescue Plan Act dollars because the previous improvements had been vacant and blighted for a number of years. The American Rescue Plan Act dollars requires the property to be redeveloped as affordable housing. The surrounding land uses are a combination of commercial and residential. The zoning change will allow for the site to be redeveloped into a residential use appropriate for affordable housing opportunities not currently in the neighborhood.
All right. Questions on the zoning? John?
Could we get Jake to come up and address some of those questions that were previously?
Jake?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate the opportunity. 3 stories. Water and sewer is city water and sewer, I believe, coming in off of 15th Street. I thought we were going to share some images, but I can kind of try to go over briefly what it is. So it's 33 units total, 11 one-bedrooms, 11 two-bedrooms, and 11 three-bedroom units. Each 2-bedroom and each 3-bedroom unit has its own private driveway. I'm sorry. Oh, there it is. Yes, thank you. Thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, so on the interior side of it are the interior garages. And so there's on the main level, on the exterior, so along 15th Street and along the alleyway are all the 1-bedroom units. And so total, there's also surface parking. So there's 22 garages, and then there's another 42 surface stalls. So we get to just under about 2 parking stalls per unit. So it's a pretty good high parking ratio there. We are still working out some of the fine details on the fencing situation and buffers and landscaping around the buildings, as well as the alley on how wide it will be and if it's a single way or a 2-way alley access point. Trying to get to anything else here. They are sizable units. So the 1-bedroom units are 650 square feet. However, the 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units, the 2-bedroom are 1,400 square feet to 1,500 square feet, and the 3-bedroom units are about 1,700 square feet. So they're very good size for being apartments. And you can see some renderings there. If there's any other questions or if I didn't answer everything you had to, I guess the name, I don't know. Obviously, it's a tilt to the, or nod to the previous land use there, but yeah. Yeah, that was the 2 options that I bounced off the city, and they kind of left it up to me, and apparently I picked the wrong one. But appropriate. Okay. Sure, that does make sense, yep. Yeah, and we can discuss that. We do have an LLC created, that's Jacob Hall Apartments LLC. However, there's always DBAs, doing business as. So, Ludke makes more sense? Okay. Okay. Yep. Makes sense.
It just would be so much more respectful.
I appreciate that. And yeah, again, no problem with that change, if that's okay. The signs will just say, I think the LLC, there's a development agreement, so that would probably stay the same. However, it'd be at the signs and everything could be branded that, absolutely. That's a
Kevin?
good Kevin question.
In the immediate part of constructing this, no. It'll be maybe a week to put the sewer in.
It's probably a 16 to 18-month construction period, so it's probably about next summer by the time we'd actually get occupancy on these, late summer. Pending our state review and everything, breaking ground here late spring or early summer potentially.
Jerry, do you have questions?
Yeah, thank you. I recognize some of you from the first time I was here on Plan Commission when Licky's was selling to the dance hall, and that was not exactly looked upon favorably at the time, and there were some concerns. So I think the buffer will definitely need to be addressed because some of the concerns back then were the noise from the hall, people out in the parking lot after weddings were over. What would that do to the surrounding neighborhood? So if you could address that sooner than later with the surrounding neighbors, I think that would be greatly appreciated. I think they're right. I remember Licky's when it was here, when I first moved here, it was part of the neighborhood. I don't think the new tenants ever established that bond, so I would tend to agree with them. I think that name would be preferable. My question would be, with the apartments, with 2 stalls per apartment, is there any chance for overflow onto the surrounding streets? And what would that, I know there's always a possibility, but when you have guests and such, where is that going to be directed and how will the tenants be instructed with regards to the on-street parking?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that would be primarily on Martin Avenue, I assume. Two stalls to the unit is a pretty high ratio, so I don't foresee any real issues there. Especially given a third of the units are all single or 1 bedroom, excuse me. So that opens up another 11 potential stalls that I don't think we'll see this parking lot full, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Just based on our other apartments, which we have about 1,200 units throughout the state, and we're more like, most of our properties are closer to 1.5 to 1.3 stalls per unit, and those seem to operate just fine.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Mhm.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hang on, City Administrator?
I was just going to add to that. So this is an extremely high for this kind of density. That's kind of some of the issues, like in our zoning code, I think it's 1 stall per bedroom is very excessive. And that's why we have vacant parking lots all over town, because we've routinely enforced that. So what we've kind of looked at with a lot of these larger projects is getting closer to that 1.5 or a little less based on where they're at in proximity to transportation. So at 1.96, I think is the calculation for this one, there should be more than enough parking. And I think after construction and everything, it should be pretty rare that we're seeing parking on the street. And if it does become an issue, we'll address it with the developers. So through the development agreement, we have a relationship for the next 26 years. So there's a tie legally between the city and the developers. So, and I just wanted to address the affordable aspect that is kind of tied in with the ARPA, just so everybody kind of understands. Everybody has a different definition in their mind of what affordable is. In this particular case, the developer is committing that these will meet the federally established affordable standards, which would be 30% of the average gross income in Sheboygan County for the life of the TID. So they will certify to us annually that the 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom rents each year that they charge do not exceed that amount. So that amount will reset each year, I think in June or July. They look at resetting them. So just so you understand, it's not a subsidized housing, and that's why we're using TIF dollars here to put that cap on. So that helps get that affordability. So the average price being charged is considered affordable for the vast majority of folks, and that's kind of hitting that that missing middle that we don't see a lot of projects. We see a lot of projects targeted towards low income or subsidized, getting those state and federal subsidies. And then we see, obviously the larger market rate that are able to charge kind of top of the market. This is one of the projects that'll kind of hit that, that middle group where we have such a large demand right now. So,
Questions for Casey? All right,
thank you.
Other questions from commissioners? John?
Maybe for Elise, can you give me a definition of what the difference between class urban residential and urban residential is?
Urban residential is not actually a zoning district in our ordinance. I think that would be an old zoning classification. So I'm not sure what that was, but it's urban residential 12 is
Okay, so class urban wasn't. Okay.
yeah, class is what you add, it's just the term that you add before zoning
Okay.
designation.
Okay, thank you.
Braden?
Yeah, so I'll just say, I think I love the way that this has kind of come to life in the renders that were shown here. The scale fits the neighborhood in a way that isn't overwhelming. It's a little bit larger than adjacent buildings, but not to an excessive amount. You have a setback that's close to the sidewalk and doesn't have the parking in front of the building, so you're kind of addressing the street in a way that I think is fantastic. But I think the only thing that I would maybe put as a point, and we have not officially absorbed the duties of the Architectural Review Board yet, so I'm stepping outside of my bounds a little bit.
Just practice.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta stretch that muscle a little bit. There's a lot of gray and beige in this street. I think one of the things that makes it feel less than ideal when you walk down it, or at least not as good as it could be, is that there are no street trees. You have a lot of gray and beige because you have this big asphalt road, and then right next to that's the concrete sidewalk. You also, though, have a lot of really neat, colorful facades. If you go down and walk down that street, you have burnt orange, you have robin's egg blue, you have all these different interesting facades and homes that were built over various different decades. So that'd be my one kind of point of criticism, is that it's really gray, and there's a lot of gray going on in there already. It's gonna be the biggest building on that whole block, so anything to make it visually feel separated more, I think would be interesting. There's a landmark condominiums on 7th Street that have a couple different colors that delineate visually. I think that could be a nice way to add just a bit of separation, so it doesn't feel like one big block on the street there, because it will be the largest building on this block.
Thanks, Braden. Kevin, what do you got?
So we are still looking at redoing 15th Street, but we are waiting for state and federal funding to help lessen that cost to the city. There's been a lot of talk about narrowing it in some way, greening it up a little bit, but we don't know what that's gonna look like yet. Yeah, I mean, we'll take all that into account as the design progresses. Oh, those are good points.
All right, thank you. Other questions on this item? There was a motion, right?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right. All those in favor of approving the zoning for that item, state aye. Aye. Any objections? Chair votes aye. That is approved. Next, item 9, RO number 106-2425 by City Clerk, submitting an application for amendment of the City of Sheboygan official zoning map of the Sheboygan zoning code ordinances to change the use district classification of property located at North 15th Street in Martin Avenue, parcel number 59281718-350 and 59281712-930 from class urban residential to urban residential with a PUD overlay classification. Elise?
Same as the last item.
Same as the last item. All right, other? Moved and seconded. Questions? Seeing none. All those in favor state aye. Any objections? That is approved. Next is general development plan by Jake Buswell to construct the new Jacob Hall Apartments located at the aforementioned parcel numbers with UR 12 and PUD overlay. Elise?
So I think Jake covered a lot of this, but as was discussed before, this is a three-story residential development which offers a diverse mix of unit types designed to appeal to a wide range of demographics in Sheboygan County. The development will consist of 2 buildings with a total of 11 one-bedroom units, 11 two-bedroom units, and 11 three-bedroom units for a total of 33 units. This project optimizes use of an underdeveloped urban core site as well as contributes to an aesthetic improvement in the area.
Thanks, Elise. Does the applicant have any additional comments? No? All right. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Jerry?
I've waited years for this, so I'm not going to miss my chance. I was schooled when I was a young kid on this commission. It was not Lutke's, it was Litke's. So is it Yakums or Yakums? Is it Jacobs or Yakums? Not that it matters anymore. Do you guys know? Okay, all right. I don't know. It was kind of interesting.
Years he's been waiting.
I was a young guy and I said, well, what was Lutke's? No, Litke's. Okay, got it. Noted. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state aye. Aye. Any objections? That is approved. Moving right along. Number 11, specific implementation plan by Jake Buswell to construct the new Jacobs Hall Apartments located at the aforementioned parcel numbers. UR 12 with PUD overlay. I've been saying Jacobs, Jerry. All right. Question. Moved and seconded. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor state aye. Aye. Any opposition? Seeing none, that item is approved. All right, next meeting, February 25th. We've exhausted the agenda. What is the pleasure of the commission? Moved and seconded. All those in favor state aye. Aye. We're adjourned at 4:23. Good night, everybody.